Call to order at 5:35 p.m. Please take the roll.
President Alvarado?
Yes, here.
Vice President Suddeth? Director Stanley?
Yes.
Director Weiner? Director Cepeda?
Here.
Okay.
All right, next item, please.
Item 2, approval of agenda order.
Okay, what is the will of the body?
I wish to pull some items, please. Is this the proper time to do it?
This is the time.
Okay, I would like to pull, let me get to the agenda again. Sorry, one moment. Computer. I have questions about, and they're just questions, for C, D, E, F. Well, all of them, I guess, except A and B. And yeah, they're just brief questions.
So you want to pull items C, D, E, and F and G, correct?
And B.
Correct.
C, D, E. C, D.
So A and B are good for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Excuse me, Director Alvarado, I would like to say something regarding the agenda.
Okay, go right ahead, Director Weiner.
Okay. I would like to comment on today's 2 meetings, 2 agendas. On receiving the links, my first thought was, why are we being asked to do so much? And my second thought was, why are 2 agendas necessary? I think we should be a deliberative body, one that considers taking action after discussion and thought. It is not sufficient for individual board members to consider the agenda in isolation. Even an individual's most rigorous attention to detail and application of thought will not reflect the collective opinion or conclusions of a board. Further, the Brown Act is meant to reveal the thinking that led to decisions or conclusions in public. That takes time, and time that should be allowed for. We should not be making this many decisions in one meeting. We should not be a rubber stamp for a committee or the agenda. Now to the form of 2 meetings with 2 agendas on one evening. The current agenda has items that are, in my mind, related. For example, construction contracts and the PLA. If we had one agenda, I would have moved them in proximity for discussion. But because we have 2 meetings and 2 agendas, our rules do not allow for this. I hope, Mr. President, going forward, we just extend the meetings as late as we need to discuss all items, and we control the amount of items required so that we have sufficient time and energy to give them the deliberation they require. I would also like to pull item A, 4A, for consideration, and I suggest that we move all the items pulled to after action item 5A in the order they were listed in consent.
All right, so Director Weiner, you're asking to pull item A, 4A?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other board members want to pull any item? All right, so can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar minus items F and G? Motion?
I don't think there's any items left but B.
Well, I believe Director Stanley pulled everything from A to E, but she left out F and G.
Oh, well, I thought she pulled D, E, F, and G.
That's incorrect. She pulled everything but A and B.
Okay,
Then I pulled A, so that would leave item B on the consent calendar.
okay, so motion to approve the consent calendar, item 4B.
Second, or I move that we approve item 4B.
Well, I
Okay.
think we have to approve the agenda order, and then we have public comment, and then we're going to have consent calendar, and then we'll have the remainder of the items.
Okay, so attorney, give me some advice here. What are you asking? What are you saying?
I'm saying the only thing that needs to happen right now is, are we approving the order, which based on the board members pulling A and then C through G would be public comment, consent calendar with one item. Then we do 4A and then 4C through G, and then 5A.
Okay. All right, so,
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the items, with the pooled items.
okay, can I have a second, please?
I second.
All right, please take the roll.
President Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice President Pettit, Director Stanley,
Yes.
Director Weiner,
Yes.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, do we have any members of the public here? Any members of the public?
I see 5 attendees.
They are staff members.
Okay.
The public.
Okay, so let's go on to the next item, please. Number 4.
4, consent calendar. 4A, adopt the,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Have a second, please.
Second?
Please take the roll.
I'm sorry, are we just approving 4B on this one?
4B, yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Consent 4B. Okay. Director Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth, Director Stanley,
Yes.
Director Weiner,
Yes.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item, and I'm going to need a little guidance from the attorney on this. Next item, please.
Sure. Based on the provision in the current board policy and procedure, we should go with action item 5A. And when we're completed with that item, we will go to 4A, and then we'll do 4C, 4D, 4E, 4F, and 4G.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so, first item. So, I understand that Director Stanley does not want to go first, so we're going to do a rotation. So we're going to start with Director Cepeda. Any questions or comments?
No, no so far.
Okay, thank you. Director Weiner.
I support this action. My big concern is the La Paloma project, which has been ongoing for years. And I'm wondering, did we determine definitively what was causing the smell? I know our system had positive pressure in the main, and a homeowner had a broken sewage pipe. I'm wondering, has the homeowner done anything to fix their leaks? And do we have a plan on our end regarding the positive pressure in the main?
Lisa, the GM, do you have any comments on that from staff or yourself?
Yeah, I think we'd like to hold off, and we don't want to talk very specifically about La Paloma at this point, but I think we can talk about it in the overall plan and where the project is. But I'm not sure. I think IMP would be best to answer that, and I think Michael is here on the call.
Yeah, I can take that. Michael Savannah, Infrastructure and Planning Department Manager. We have done a lot there. You're right, and I think the La Paloma issue has gone on for a long time. In short, we have a consultant on board who's going to do some hydraulic modeling for us. We had the Hilltop Green lift station emergency, which feeds into the La Paloma gravity line. With the changing of a huge portion of the Hilltop Green force main, it changed some of the assumptions that the consultant was making. So we have sort of doubled back and slowed down a bit so that we can reassess and re-strategize our approach to figuring out what the issue is. There have been some things that we've done out there that have helped, but there is more work for us to do.
Director Weiner, any more comments or questions?
You're muted,
That
Director.
was it.
What was that, Director Weiner? Not hear you.
Yes, all I had was that one question about La Paloma. Otherwise, I'm in support of 5A.
Okay, thank you. Director Stanley?
I am also in support of 5A, and just for Director Weiner and the rest of the board, if they're interested, I asked the same question via email and was told that to date we've spent about $50,000 on this project, so it's not like we're not doing anything. But so I'm just sharing my information with others.
Thank you, Director Stanley. Is VP Setup with us?
She is not.
Okay, I have no comments, so I'm asking for a motion to approve this.
I move to approve.
Do I have a second? Who was that? Was that Director Weiner?
Yes.
Okay,
I seconded.
okay, thank you. Please take the roll.
President Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth, Director Stanley,
Yes.
Director Weiner,
Yes.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item, which would be item 4A.
4A, adopt a resolution authorizing the general manager to amend the agreement with Liebert Cassidy Whitmore by $50,000 for interim general counsel assistance for a new total not to exceed $100,000.
Okay, we're going to start this time with Director Stanley.
I have no questions.
Okay, Director Weiner.
I am not in support of this item. This contract was not originally authorized by the board, and it would be a continuing board policy failure by renewing it.
I want to hear from the attorney on this, please.
There's no issue with the propriety of asking the board to exceed the amount for this contract. The general manager is authorized to spend up to $50,000. She has. This contract is nearing its limit, and so the general manager is asking for additional funds. And the board has the power to grant that.
Thank you. Director Cepeda.
No questions.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion to approve this item.
I'll make a motion to approve consent calendar 4A.
Okay, can I have a second, please? Seeing no second, I will second it. Please take the roll.
President Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth, Director Stanley,
No.
Director Weiner,
No.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion does not pass because it's 2-2.
May I ask a question of our attorney? President,
Go ahead.
what happens now? I understand that the current policy gives the GM $50,000, which we understand is almost at its limit. We are using your services, so are you willing to work for free for the next couple of weeks? Or what is the next steps that the board has to do? Because obviously we're running out of money here.
Most likely what will occur is that staff will put this on an upcoming agenda.
I so apologize. I thought this was not the firm that Lisa Chabonneau works for. And is it your firm, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm so sorry. I changed my vote to yes.
Okay. Thank you, Director Stanley.
It's a process. Can we go back? So now do we remake the motion since the last motion failed, or what do we do?
Let's do the vote again, just in an abundance of caution.
Okay, so a motion, please.
I make the motion to approve consent calendar 4A.
Okay, and I'll second it. So please take the roll again.
President Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth, Director Stanley,
Yes.
Director Weiner,
No.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next item, please.
Item 4C, adopt a resolution authorizing the general manager to enter into amendment number 5 with Carollo Engineering for construction management services by $61,000 for a new total not to exceed $4,960,957, and amendment number 3 with Carollo Engineering for on-call engineering services by $65,000 for a new total not to exceed $199,979.
Okay, Director Cepeda. Questions, comments?
Sorry, I was trying to make sure that it wasn't on mute. I guess the question for these here, this might be to our GM. What would happen if we do not approve this? Where are we on construction management services with Carollo that if we don't approve it, what is the repercussion of that?
So I'm actually going to have Michael Savannah answer that question because he can tell you very specifically sort of the consequences of not of authorizing this and the impact on the work.
Again, Michael Savannah, Infrastructure and Planning Department Manager. As you all are aware of, we have a claim that on one of our projects down at the plant. This contract is for Carollo, who did our design, construction management, and inspection on this project to assist us in the evaluation of the claim and sort of the defense of the claim. We currently, so if we don't approve this, we lose the support of Carollo, who has the institutional knowledge of the project, and the district is really at the mercy of the folks filing the claim against us.
Thank you. No further questions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Cepeda. Director Weiner, questions, comments, please.
I'm in support of item C.
Okay, thank you, Director Weiner. Director Stanley, questions, comments?
I just have comments. I don't believe that we can, for the first part of C, that we can quit in the middle of litigation. And the second part of C, I asked this question also because I was concerned about there wasn't a time period like, end of fiscal year or something like that. And I was answered something about a PLA, whereas as far as I'm concerned, Carollo's been with us for a long time, and there is things that they know that we need them for. And so other than saying, can we say not to exceed $199,979, that we say in this fiscal year, or is that necessary? Lisa C., can you comment on that?
I could respond to that.
Okay.
I believe we did, and we have a bunch of contracts here, but I think this one we did. There was a time extension required anyway because it was expiring, and then we asked for authorization through June 30th, 2021. But if we didn't, we could certainly do that, because the other thing we mentioned in the staff report is the intent to go out with an RFP.
Okay. Then, okay.
We have not relied solely on Carollo.
Okay. Then I'm also support this item. Thank you.
Director Stanley. Appreciate that. VP Sedif, are you with us? Appears she's not. I have no questions, so can I have a motion to approve this, please?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item C.
I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Can we take the roll, please?
President Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth, Director Stanley,
Yes.
Director Weiner,
Yes.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next
Mr.
item.
President, may I ask a process question?
Sure, go ahead.
Would we be able to, I know that you're trying to give everybody the first question, but because these items were all pulled by one director, I would like to hear from that director. So can we have that director go first, just so that way we know why they were pulled? Because it sounds like there might not be opposition, there might just be small questions, so we might be able to get to the rest of the items faster.
Director Stanley, is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine, and that's exactly right. I just had short questions.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, next item. Let's do it.
4D, adopt a resolution authorizing the general manager to enter into an agreement with APB General Engineering for the 3.1 Priority Pipes Project number 21CS201, Area 3, for a total not to exceed $968,268.
Okay, Director Stanley, questions, comments?
Okay, I was busy reading the agenda. My apologies. What item are we on?
4D.
4D. Okay, so my question is, was when staff gives us these reports, could they please stay more in where these projects are at, so that I don't have to do a Google search trying to figure it out? And I know, and because I asked questions earlier, I know this was before the color-coded things that we did for the I&I report, but in the future also, if it's in the future, I'm assuming it's going to be in the color-coded areas. And Michael, perhaps, or Lisa, you can answer that question. And finally, if it is in the color-coded areas, could we know what those colors are?
So I'll just take the first part of your comment or question. Yes, we will definitely do a better job at making sure we define the area, so that you understand when we say Area 3, exactly where Area 3 is. And I'll ask Michael to answer your other questions about the I&I areas.
Thank you.
We can definitely talk about in our staff reports which I&I basin it's in. If you recall, there were basin numbers as well as color-coded.
Yeah.
I think part of your question was whether or not the next ones that are coming up will be in a color-coded area. And I guess the most accurate answer I can give you is very likely. There will definitely be some lines that we have to repair that won't be in a color-coded area. If you recall, the color-coded areas identified the highest I&I areas in the district. There may be some lines that we have to replace that are not in those areas, so don't be alarmed if you see lines that are not in there. The reason we did the I&I study, just as a reminder, was so that we could identify where the highest I&I areas were in the district, and we can tackle those. So that's a tool that we're using when we're planning our pipe projects moving forward, and it's been very useful for us. As you stated, that tool didn't come into existence until after the projects that you see bidding now, but moving forward, our intent is to tackle the highest I&I areas, which I believe were the purple areas, and then work our way out of there. And then once we have all of those tackled, then to do lines in areas that aren't color-coded. But I just want to be transparent and say every line that you see will not be in a color-coded area, because there are going to be some exceptions.
No, that sounds very reasonable, Michael. I just wanted, I know we didn't attach a resolution to when we got that I&I report, and so because we didn't, I just want to make sure that for all of our clarification that we understand. Is it in a colored area? And if it's not, it's because it's needed. You know, it's all, everything you said is all very reasonable, and I understand it. It's just for my own clarification. I want to understand exactly what we're doing and how it fits in the color-coded areas. And since we're talking about the color-coded things, this would be maybe an appropriate time to ask, do we need to go back and spend a little bit more money in order to get maps that we can post online for these areas for the public to see also?
I guess I'll take that one. I'm not, if the direction of the board and the organization is that we want to post these maps for the public to see, I think we have maps in our report that are visible. What we don't have are maps that we can zoom in to a scale that's clear enough to see street names. And that would be something that we would be doing specifically to post them online. It's not what we need for the work that we have to do.
I can add to that, Michael, in that we certainly add the criteria that you're looking for in a report like this, that not all of them are going to be in those color-coded basins, Director Stanley, because there's other, as you alluded to, other criteria that will sometimes bring projects to the top of the list. And so what we can do is identify in the staff report what was the primary criteria that was required this particular project. Was it because of I&I, or was it because of landslide issues or other factors that come into us required to get at some of this infrastructure sooner than other parts? And as far as the maps, we could show the area. We can list the street names, which is what the contractor would get, and we can have those all listed fairly easily. But that interactive map that you're talking about, we eventually want to get to the point where we have more maps on the website that we can draw, you can click on, you can zoom in on and do that. But as far as generating some of the maps we have to be careful about the accuracy of the data and how that data is used.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you both so much for your answers.
Thank you, Director Stanley. Director Cepeda. I'm sorry, Director Weiner.
Yeah, my comments will apply to all the items from 4D to 4G. Great news on the SRF funding. Can we hear some more details of which projects were included in this round of SRF funding? Do we have other SRF funding requests outstanding? Are the two additive line items of the bid likely to be required? So we have a low value, and then we have the possibility of two or three other parts on the bid. Are they likely, unlikely, or unknown? I noticed that the cost for these were substantially lower on other successful bids. The second part, rather than the first part, they were lower for whatever reason. I don't understand. It's very exciting to me that we were finally moving on our capital expenditures for pipes. Positives for the district and the environment and the community and the region cannot be underestimated. It is also gratifying that a board goal of this magnitude will be completed soon. The board's desire to improve our community also includes providing local union wages and benefits for all construction workers who make these improvements for our district. To that end, we ask the district to include a project labor agreement in all large contracts. These 4 contracts add up to over $2.6 million in construction dollars. Each of the 2 firms will be awarded $1.43 million and $1.2 million respectively. If we had inked the project labor agreement to be discussed in the next meeting, these projects would have been covered. That is over $3.6 million in contracts we have let without a PLA in place. My question is, are APB General Engineering and Andy's construction union firms, do they hire local, and do they pay prevailing wages? Thank you.
Do you want to
Okay,
take any
we can-
portion of that, Andrew?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got a whole bunch of questions in there, Director Weiner, so let's see. SRF funding, use the alt additives. Michael, why don't you,
Andrew,
Yeah.
Andrew, so some of those items actually aren't very specific to these, so we can actually come back. I think the better approach would be to come back and provide an information report on the SRF for Director Weiner's request. And
My only questions were
Yeah.
about the terms, not about anything else. I was
Right.
making a comment.
Thank you. Right. So I think we can address the additive question if you want to take that one, Michael. I think that was your only actual question, correct, Director Weiner?
Additive? Oh, yeah. Explanation of lower and higher, and what's the chances that the second part of the contract will be executed?
Yep.
So,
Go ahead, Michael.
The additive items, if I had to give you a number, which I'm very reluctant to do, is probably a bit more than 50%. And it's really for what would be unforeseen conditions that we're trying to anticipate. So if we run into any areas where we can't do pipe bursting and we have to open trench, then that's when we would use the additive items. So it's really difficult to give you a definitive answer as to percentage-wise or how likely it is that we would use the additive items. I would just say we felt strongly enough about it that we wanted to put it in the bid so that we could get solid numbers that we could be confident in, and we didn't come back with an outrageous change order because something like this came up that we hadn't anticipated, and then we were in a tough spot trying to negotiate in the field. In regards to higher and lower, I think your question is about the difference in the 3 low bid. Is that correct?
They were just, it seemed like the low bid was the lowest for the 5 required items, but they were highest for the additive, whereas the other bids were higher for the 5 required and lower for the, and that's just on 4C. The other ones were different. But, yeah, 4D, I mean, the very first bid that I read. And it was interesting to see that they had decided that they would charge less for the second part and more for the first part. And I was wondering why, if you had any clue as to the strategy.
I'm not exactly sure. I didn't personally evaluate the bids. Our project managers and inspectors and engineers do that level of work. I would assume that it just had to do with their costing and wanting to make sure that they made their profit, but also kept their bids competitive.
Thank you.
And then you had another question. Can you remind me what it was?
Is it the PLA question?
Yeah, the PLA question is being moved to a later report, it sounded like.
Yeah, it sounds like Director Weiner got his questions answered. Thank you for your comments, Director Weiner. Director Cepeda, any questions, comments?
None for me, thank you.
All right, so can I have a motion to approve item 4D?
I so move.
Second, please.
This is Caesar, I'll second it.
All right, we have a first and a second. Please take the roll.
President Alvarado?
Yes.
Vice President Sedith? I see she's on the call. I don't know if she heard enough to make a vote. Director Stanley?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was that a yes? I heard Vice President Sedith. I'm sorry. I heard Vice President Sedith whisper something. I don't know if anybody heard her or not.
I heard her, but I don't know what she said.
I'll continue. Director Weiner?
Yes.
Director Cepeda?
Yes.
Okay, Vice President Sedith, can I come back to you? Did you want to make a vote?
So I know that Vice President Suddeth is having, I think, some
Technical-
vocal problems. So
Oh.
let's give her a moment to let us know if she wants to abstain because she wasn't here or whether she wants to vote.
Just to point out, on participants, there's a possibility of raising a hand, and that can be viewed by the secretary. If Director Suddeth would just like to signify yes by raising a hand or affirmative, that might work.
Or a thumbs up, one or the other.
I don't know how to raise a hand. Would she have to click on?
If she clicks on participants, it'll pull up with the panel, and if she goes all the way down, you'll see invite, mute me, or raise hand. If she clicks on the panelist tab.
I think that she actually said that she was fine, thank you, before when you couldn't hear her. So she may have actually gone off the call and is coming back because she didn't have anything on this.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
Okay. Great.
I said I read it and I'm fine.
Okay, she's fine.
She's fine. Okay. Motion passes.
Okay, next item, please.
4E, adopt a resolution authorizing the general manager to enter into an agreement with APV General Engineering for the 3.1 Priority Pipes Project number 21CS202, Area 4, for a total not to exceed $467,400.
Okay, Director Stanley, questions, comments?
No, I got my questions answered on the previous item, so I'm fine now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Director Weiner.
I stand in favor of this.
Okay, Director Spada.
No questions.
All right, so can I have a motion to approve this? I'm sorry, Vice President Suddeth, I know you can't really speak right now? Nothing? Okay, I have no comments, so can I have a motion to approve this?
I so move.
Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that. This is Caesar.
All right, it's been first and seconded. Please take the roll.
President Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth, Director Stanley,
Yes.
Director Weiner,
Yes.
Director Zepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next item, please.
Item 4F, adopt a resolution authorizing the general manager to enter into an agreement with Andes Construction for the 3.1 Priority Pipes Project number 21CS203, Area 5, for a total not to exceed $541,350.
All right, Director Stanley, questions, comments?
Just one quick question for both this and G. The question being that because what percentage of pipes are we putting into the ground to date this fiscal year, Michael or whoever?
I don't have an exact answer for that. I would have to go and check with Angela and then get back to you.
Okay. Could we make that part of our reports also? Is that possible?
I think that we can do that as part of our reporting if it's the decision of this board.
Then I would say to this board that I can bring this up in a future agenda item. It's just that the industry standards, for those who don't know, is 2% a year, so that every 50 years we're replacing all our pipes. And we haven't really replaced a significant amount of pipes for the last several years, so we're probably a little bit behind. That's why I keep asking what percentage of pipes. and that's why I would like it included in the reports from now on. Can we, Lisa Chabonneau, ask that now, or does that need to be asked at a future agenda item?
I think you're indicating that you'd like to see that in the report. I think staff will take it under consideration. It doesn't sound like they know whether or not that's what they want to do, but if you want to change the report and have the board deliberate and have the board direct staff to do it, then we should figure out a way for that to get on the agenda. Another agenda.
If I could address that question, so we can actually provide you, we're planning an update on the overall capital program in the next month or so. So we can include that information for you at that time. I'm not sure if it's feasible at the moment for us to include it with every single report that comes forward on pipes, but we definitely can give you the update at the next capital project update that'll go before the board.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Director Stanley.
I have a
Mr.
question,
Weiner.
if this is the appropriate time. Can I ask Director Stanley, maybe if you can send to Lisa the industry standards that you're speaking of, because we've looked around in the industry and we've talked to consultants and professionals, and no one knows of 2%. Every organization is going to be slightly different, and if there's an industry standard, I'd like to understand what it is so that we can make sure that we are chasing it.
Well, I actually got that information first from EJ, and then I asked Ed McCormick the same question, and he answered the same number, and so I quit asking the question. So,
so I think rather than it was a standard, industry standard, I believe probably what they were responding to is that I think that the district had a goal of 2% at one point. Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's probably where the 2% a year came from.
I'm not sure of the district goal, but I think they may have been looking at life expectancy of clay pipes, which is what the majority of our system is, and they were probably looking at a 50-year turnaround, so they wanted to replace everything in 50 years. But to my understanding, I haven't been able to find an industry standard, and I know it's come up in this meeting a couple of times, so I've looked and spoke to consultants and folks in the industry, and I just was curious where it came from so that we can make sure that we're all aligned with the same standard. So if it came from in this agency, I'm not sure where they got it from.
Yeah, it's possible to answer that question based on the type of pipes we have in the ground. But the thing is that our pipes are all pretty much 50 years old and older. So if both those general managers were incorrect and there's no industry standard, then perhaps we can get some information about. I'm concerned that our pipes are old and that's keeping a steady pace of replacing them so that we don't end up with.
Director Stanley, we can respond to that in more detail when you get the update, but I don't think that anyone is incorrect. There was a percentage that would be applied that was sort of industry average or what would be standard based on life expectancy when you didn't have other information available to you, when that was just the rule of thumb that you would use, and this is what I should be budgeting for and what I should be replacing. What Michael has in hand is he has an inflow study, which has colored basins on it. We also have a lot of other information about the conditions of pipes. So what happens is you start to do a condition-based assessment and replacement program, which won't necessarily just be as static as a 2%. That's sort of a rule of thumb number. So I think that they're all correct, but we can give much more information on that in later capital update.
All right, great. Thank you so much, all of you, for your input.
Thank you, Director Stanley. Director Weiner, any questions, comments?
I just remembered a question I asked that had to do with the SRF. Which SRF are we working on for all these projects? Is it the last SRF, or do we still have an outstanding SRF in the works?
So what we can briefly answer the question for here, but what I was suggesting to do, Director Weiner, is bring back a report for you because you had asked about SRF overall and other projects. So I was going to bring back an information report for you that would talk in more detail. That works.
That'd be fine.
Thank you, Director Weiner. Director Cepeda, questions, comments?
No, none for me, thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Sutter? Should you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Or?
Saying no.
Okay.
No questions.
I have no comments, so can I have a motion to approve this item?
I so move.
I have a first, I have a second, please. Second, please.
I think Harry was trying to unmute himself. Do you want a second, Harry?
I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Please take the roll.
President Alvarado.
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth. She's saying yes. Director Stanley.
Yes.
Director Weiner.
Yes.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 4G, adopt a resolution authorizing the general manager to enter into an agreement with Andes Construction for the 3.1 Priority Pipes Project number 21CS204, areas 6, 7, and 8, for a total not to exceed $642,571.
All right, Director Stanley, questions, comments?
I believe all my questions have been answered for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Weiner?
I stand in support of this.
Thank you, Director Weiner. Director Cepeda?
None for me, thank you.
All right, VP Sutter?
She's saying
Okay, she's nodding no. I have no questions either. Can I have a motion to approve this item?
I so move.
Second? Can I have a second, please?
Yes, these are all seconds.
Okay, we have a first, we have a second. Can you take the roll, please?
President Alvarado.
Yes.
Vice President Suddeth. She's saying yes. Director Stanley.
Yes.
Director Weiner.
Yes.
Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next item.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, President Alvarado, you broke up. I can't hear you.
Next item, please.
Oh, sorry. Item 6, adjournment.
Okay, we're adjourned until 6:30, and we'll be back then. Thank you.
Do we need to log in on a different?
All right, so let's call the meeting order. It's around 6:30. Please take the roll.